Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Supervisor Coyer.
Here.
Councilman Barber.
Here.
Councilman Carter.
Here.
Councilman Talaski is absent. Councilman Barron.
Yep.
Thank you all for coming. Welcome to our special meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to hold a public hearing for the proposed local law 2 of 2024, regulating short-term rentals in the town of Dannemora. And I will open the floor to public comments. Anybody? Okay, I can run through it real quick just to give you an idea of what it entails. Basically, it's to make the owners of the property responsible for making sure that the unit is safe, secure, meets fire codes, meets sanitary codes, that kind of thing. We haven't had the issue in this town so much. I know the town of Ellenburg, I talked with Andre Labarge at length today, and Ellenburg is doing the same thing with their concerns on Chateauguay Lake by having, we have examples of people renting out their 2-bedroom camp to 18 newly graduated high school kids for the weekend. That kind of thing where, you got a 2-bedroom house, obviously not supposed to be 18 people in there. Certain things like that. Also make sure that, there's a fire extinguisher, there's smoke detectors, there's CO2 detectors, that kind of thing. So the onus is really on the owner of the property to treat it just like a rental unit has to have all these things before they can, you can rent an apartment, you're supposed to have all these things. It's the same thing with these. That's the main reason for the law. There's an application procedure, a permit. There is a fee, a 2-year permit for $200. So basically $100 a year. And this also will require so that there's somebody that can be contacted. For example, it says in here, you need to put the name of who can be reached within 2 hours. If something goes wrong, say the place catches on fire, how are we supposed to contact the owner? So we need to make sure that all that information is available. And like I said, in Dannemora, we haven't had that issue yet, but there's a lot more places that are being opened up for rentals. And it's not just on the lake. I mean, we're talking, any place, any cabins or whatnot. I know in Ellenburg, the lakes are an issue with them, especially Chateauguay Lake, Roxanne Lake. But they also have, people that just have their homes like we do in rural areas, and you get people from the city who want to come up and get fresh air, fresh water, be out of the city. So it's going to apply to any kind of short-term rentals. There are copies of the draft law, and it was posted on our website for the last couple of weeks. So that's what it's all about, and it's becoming, like I say, Ellenburg is definitely doing it. They've got their law already written up as well. I think they used the same example we did, because when I talked to Andre, it was pretty much the same format. Belmont is going to get involved for their portion of Chateauguay Lake and other areas. And it's not anything that, we're not trying to restrict what people can do with their property. We just want to make sure that when they do these short-term rentals that they're doing it safely and within health and fire regulations.
Deb, the properties that are delineated campground, hotel, bed and breakfast, and all of those, do they have their own set of laws already? Is that why those are excluded?
Well, they're like hotels and that kind of thing.
Yeah, on the front page, under short-term rental,
Mhm.
it says county registered hotel, motel, inn, campground, or bed and breakfast. They already have rules
Yes,
around those.
yeah, those are county regulated rules.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So, like an Airbnb, somebody would be excluded from this? They Airbnb their,
Well, if it's an Airbnb in here, we would require, we would go to the county. If it's an Airbnb, if they're registered under an Airbnb, we would go to the county and make sure that they are following
For
all
compliance.
all the rules as well.
County.
Any units in this town, when I talked to Kimberly Davis, any Airbnb units in this town, or Verbo, or any of those, they're supposed to be reporting to the county that it's operating as an Airbnb, because the county gets bed tax, the occupancy tax. So all of that, and I know the county is trying to find all of those places. So they go on websites and whatnot to, to try and make sure they can corral all those, because there's getting to be so many of them that, the county's wants the money, and we just want to make sure everybody's renting responsibly and whatnot. Are there any other comments? Yes.
So I don't have any rentals, but I have friends that do.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a few questions and then a few concerns I wanted to share on their behalf.
Okay.
First, Airbnb, because they're already registered with the county, would they be included in this law where they would have to register with the town as well and go through all that? Or is that, if they're already with Airbnb, are they
Well, we
already?
would go with, we would contact the county. They should let us know, and then we would contact the county to make sure that the county is
So if somebody's
enforcing
already
it.
on Airbnb and registered and in good standing with the county,
Mhm.
are they also required to apply for a permit through Dannemora under this law? Or would they be separate because they're already registered with Airbnb in the county?
I think they probably should also register with us. That's a good question, but I would hope that if it's within the town of Dannemora, that we would want to register with us as well. It may not require them to do the application, but at least
We know.
let us know so
At
that,
least we know.
because then we can hold the county accountable if they're not following, all the regulations, or if they're, renting to 20 people in a 2-bedroom house or whatever.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying about safety, and that is important.
Mhm.
Based on, I did read the law, and based on my understanding and other people's interpretation of it, one of the concerns that my friends who rent is the kind of the broadness of it, and essentially the liability of, just no matter how hard people try to rent to good tenants, people do make up stories, they'll present a good impression, and then you've rented, and then it could be a total disaster, and the fines and how easy it would be to lose that permit
Mhm.
over essentially, no matter how you do your due diligence, if you just get a bad renter that just breaks every rule in the book,
Mhm.
how do you protect the people that own the properties from losing their business or, their income over, somebody else's actions? Because, you can make all the rules, but I'm sure people will agree to certain things and then do the exact opposite.
Right.
I have a friend who rents on the lake, Chazy Lake, just to pay his taxes. He rents like 3-4 weeks a year just to simply afford to keep the property.
Mhm.
He's very particular about who he rents to and tries to be very careful, but he's worried, well, what if I get a bad tenant and something happens, am I gonna lose that permit for a year, or am I gonna be able to afford to stay at the lake?
Right.
So that was the main concern, was the financial penalties and how easy it is to lose it,
Mhm.
you know, if there's something does happen, so.
Yeah, I think that would be looked at on a case-by-case
Yeah, I was
basis.
gonna
It would
put
be,
the word on my
you know,
mouth.
just depending on, you know, how bad was it, you know, did they, you know, were they overly noisy, or did they, you know, I think it would be case by case, and it would probably be pretty obvious as to, you know, what was at fault, because, I mean, the main purpose of this is the safety and security and
Yeah.
whatnot, so, you know, if you know, if the tenant does something that's way out of whack, I mean, because of this actually would protect your friend, because he could say, look, this regulation's here and now you gotta get out. You know, if it's the first day of their stay or whatever, this gives them a little bit of teeth to get them out, because
Okay.
this is, part of the application is that this information is available to them when they rent it and whatnot. So if
Okay,
they've read
the town
this,
will be applying common sense
oh,
to
absolutely,
how things are enforced to make sure that
yeah.
the rights of the people who own the properties are,
Hmm.
you know, they're able to maintain that, you know, even if they happen to get, because if you get a bad tenant, the obvious solution is never rent to them again, but you can't change what they already do.
Right,
Right,
right.
when they're
Right.
there.
And I don't know you, who are you?
I'm Matthew Furman,
Yes.
I live in Lion Mountain.
Okay, so I think, you know, and I think you make some great points, Matthew, but if I put myself into a rental property owner, then I'm gonna take an extra step and meet with my attorney and say, listen, let's draw up something more concise. This is a pretty good law, it really is, and as we move forward with understanding just the usage of this law, how will it help us, or how we gotta actually maybe change it down the road to be more protective? But if I'm gonna rent out my piece of property that I value very, very much, then I'm gonna do probably a little more homework and get an attorney and say, listen, I wanna make sure nothing can happen where all of a sudden, out of 4 weeks, they're growing pot plants, for Pete's sakes, right? So I'm gonna make sure that my piece of property is protected, not only by what the town has, but also as the owner of that piece of property.
Yep.
So I would go an additional step to make the rentee understand that it's my property, I'm letting you use it for a fee for 4 weeks, but these are the guidelines that you will commit to, or else you don't rent my piece of property. And he's got to sign the dotted line. It's that simple. So,
Yeah, so, and this law, you know, we can make adjustments to it, you know, we pass the law and we see that, you know, next year, oh, this cropped up and this cropped up that's not addressed, we can do amendments, or if we see that something is not quite, you know, it's too stringent in this area and we see that that's an issue, again, we can adjust it. So it's a living document, we're not, you know, this isn't like, this is it, take it or leave it, it's, you
Okay,
know.
so it can be adapted as.
yeah,
Yes.
and I think to your point, Debbie's makes a good point too. It's our first year rolling this thing out. So I think for us to be diligent of the people that rent property, we would probably have a informational meeting, say, on our first year, after our first year's completed. How'd it go? How'd it go? What do you think worked well? What do you think did not work well? And what we gotta do to make it better? But that's up to us having a good conversation with the residents that decide to rent out their property. So we would have that informational meeting to see how it went.
And then the other question or concern I wanted to bring up more just to find out, because I know that my same friend, thankfully they moved away, neighbor moved away, but they had a neighbor that was vigorously opposed to him renting 3-4 weeks out of the summer.
Mhm.
And she used to make up all sorts of crazy stuff and try to do everything to scare away renters. So in a situation where, you know, property owners are following the rules, but there's just a neighbor or somebody nearby that's just really unhappy about any rental going,
Mhm.
how is the town able to address to make sure that any complaints received are valid and nothing is being, you know, exaggerated, you know, out of malicious intent?
Right, well, we would have, I mean, our code enforcement officer can go out there and you know, we'd look at it. Again, it's, you know, applying common sense to everything. If, you know, if that's a habitual thing where a person, you know, if we get the same issue from a person, no matter who's in the unit, obviously their problem and not that one. I know there are some people who don't think that we should be allowing it at all, and we've told those people that we're not gonna tell people how to use their property. I wouldn't want anybody telling me that I can't do this or I can't do that on my property within reason, obviously. So this is a way for, if your concern is that, somebody's, and I'm gonna be honest, a lot of it is jealousy. This person's making money off their property, and, we don't have that opportunity, so it pisses us off and we're gonna complain. This makes sure that safety and all of that is taken care of. And if people have personal issues with it, then that's their personal issues. So, again, that a case-by-case basis, we'd look at, what's going on.
And even to Deb's point, if our code enforcement officer went out and said, listen, it's toxic, it's pretty bad between the two, I think you're starting to hinge on the legal liability of harassment, right? So there's ways that you can actually look to see just exactly how far you stick your nose in the business.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, 'cause, we have enough regulations and whatnot, and, and you hate to put another law in place, but this one is more to make sure that we're keeping, things safe and secure.
Sounds like it's more about
whatnot.
safety and it's important. I
Honesty, yeah.
just wanted to make sure that the town was aware of the other pieces of it and that a plan was in place to make sure that it's enforced fairly, which
Yeah.
sounds like there is.
Good
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Can I fire a couple at you? So do the owners then have to pay that bed tax through Clinton County? They were doing it on their own before.
Yeah, they should be paying the bed tax to the county.
Okay,
And this is basically, the permit, for us, basically, it's, we're gonna be inspecting and doing that kind of thing, and it's also a little bit more responsibility.
and then does Shane oversee the code then? So the liability would still fall on the owners, but Shane oversees the code?
Yeah, Shane is the code enforcement, but yeah, liability always falls on the owner.
Okay, and then, just to piggyback off his question, how do you end up losing a permit, just breaking the rules and?
If it's pretty flagrant, when you say, yeah, we have adequate septic system for 20 people, and,
Yep.
you only have a 100-gallon septic tank, obviously, different things like that. The environmental is addressed a little bit in this too, about, making sure, and that falls under the health department, county health department. So we'd be working with them if there's an issue. It would have to be, pretty bad for us to basically pull the permit. It would more be for them to come into compliance in a certain amount of time. And if they refuse to come into compliance, then obviously you would pull the permit, but.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mary?
Hey, I'm just seeing this for the first time, but I think that it is a good move by the town to protect everybody. There are a couple of short-term, Airbnbs on our road, on Sunset Road, and fortunately, they're well operated, and my neighbor, it's never been a problem. But if it were a problem, or if they were violating normal rules and regulations, I think it's important to have a safeguard. So I think that this is a good resolution.
Thank you.
But this current law wouldn't cover that situation.
Excuse me?
But this current law wouldn't cover that situation that she's describing, because it doesn't cover Airbnbs.
Well,
Well, yeah, Debbie said that it would be in the right interest to come in and still do an application, do the $100 thing. We'd still be in charge of oversee it, but they'd still pay the bed tax to the county for the Airbnb.
Well, then should the proposed law be modified to exclude these?
tell me where you're reading that, Mark.
Under the definition of short-term rental.
Front page.
Okay.
Short-term rental.
Okay, county registered hotel, motel, inn, campground, or bed and breakfast. So that doesn't really cover Airbnb.
You don't think so?
No, I wouldn't think so.
I think somebody could argue it does.
Because a bed and breakfast to me is a place that's set up year-round as a bed and breakfast.
So this doesn't cover Airbnb?
But I think it does. And maybe we can remove bed and breakfast, but to me, a bed and breakfast is something that's a year-round established. It's like a hotel, except it's,
But the B and B in Airbnb stands for bed and breakfast. So I think somebody could say that anybody that's renting their place through Airbnb would be excluded from
Okay.
this law.
so I can delete or bed and breakfast
I
right
think
out
that
of
would
there.
make it better,
Yeah.
more clear.
Or add.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consider Airbnb because most people live, like an Airbnb, somebody owns a camp and they register through Airbnb to get, people to know that it's there, but it's not really a year-round bed and
Well,
breakfast.
for example, we have, I just looked it up, there are apparently 7 camps on Shazy Lake that are currently being rented through Airbnb. So I would interpret this law not to apply to them, and so, for example, the hours of when they have to be quiet wouldn't apply to them, for example.
So we can make that change.
I think that would be.
Because
more clear.
It would tighten it
that
up.
isn't really my interpretation, but obviously,
Include them.
okay, so like county registered hotels, motels, inns, and campgrounds.
That would make sense.
Thank you.
Cut the bed and breakfast.
Why isn't it gonna include VRBOs and Airbnbs?
It would if she deleted this.
Yep.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
But are there any bed and breakfasts that, operate?
I don't know of a bed and
county
breakfast.
registration already?
I don't know of any bed and breakfasts in the town. Do you? Anybody?
I don't.
There's one on Chateaugay.
And before you came in, Mary, Ellenberg is also passing the same law,
Yeah, it's,
and
Well, I think it's important that it cover Airbnbs. I mean, I think that's the issue for us.
Mhm. Okay, we can do that. We can make that.
Take that edit.
That's why it's got a big draft written across it. We can scratch it out.
yeah.
That clarifies it as well. That clarifies your questions too, because it was ambiguous. I apologize for that.
Where's the line in the sand for residential to commercial property with this? I know it doesn't have anything to do with the law, but I'm just curious as to, is Shane gonna be able to determine that you're renting this, or after the first year, Joey, you say, we have a meeting and determine how it went this year? You know, a guy renting the place out, neighbors out there watching it get rented out 11 months out of 12. Is it residential or commercial now?
I would follow the tax law, which says that, a certain percentage of, what is it, you can't, if you rent out your home for more than, trying to dig back into my tax law. There's a time frame set, if you're not the resident of your home for,
That was 6 months, isn't it?
it's more than, no,
More than
it's
six?
like a 30-day period.
Right.
Then you're considered commercial and you have to fill out Form E.
Right, because if I gotta stay in my apartments for 6 months to turn it into a residential property, then I would. It
Mhm.
would lower my taxes, my codes would be different.
Right,
You know, so there's gotta be a line in the sand
Mhm.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Good point.
Shane or somebody's gotta keep an eye on how things
Mhm.
are going, and say, you're selling this place out for 11 months out of the year, and nobody's, it's vacant for 1 month. You know, there's different rules that should be applied to.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good point.
Thank you, Mr. Lingman.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Anybody else have a comment, question? Okay, well, I'm going to, we're good?
Yeah.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting and we'll jump right into the next one.
Just let it run.
Just let it run?
Just let it
Okay.
run.
All right. All right. We don't need to call the order, pledge of allegiance or roll call because we did all that. Motion to accept, hold on. Motion to approve the July 2024 bills. Let me, oh, wait a minute. No,
Wait.
supervisors
Gotta go to the,
monthly,
gotta go to the meeting, right?
huh?
Minutes?
Minutes first.
Yep.
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and, make a motion to accept the minutes from the
Yeah, take
June
this off.
26th, 24th, public hearing and regular monthly town board meeting.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
See, I had my glasses on, so I couldn't see.
Now you're good.
And just take them off and go from there.
Don't worry, we'll let you know.
We got it.
Yeah,
your
you
back.
You keep me straight. Okay, you guys have the financial report.
Yep.
We got $144,000 in interest on that account and, 62,000 on that account, so we're doing well, Okay. Da-da-da. Person's addressing a board. Anybody need to address the board? Okay. Public comments.
No, I skipped it.
Did I skip something else?
No.
No, I didn't.
I'm not sure I need a motion for the financial report.
Not yet.
Nope.
Give it a second.
Oh. I have it there.
Nope. Now we're to the resolutions. Motion
No,
to,
public comment, non-agenda.
no, we didn't have any.
No public comment?
No.
You didn't ask anybody?
Yes, you do.
Motion to approve the July bills. I'm gonna read it. General fund, $131,933.99. Highway fund, $75,384.41. Line Mountain Lights, $891.84. Line Mountain Sewer, $4,245.40. Danmore Sewer, $303.65. Line Mountain Water District, $2,684.52. Danmore Water District, $37. Ledgers Water District, $1,675.59. Trust and Agency, $1,359.98 for a total of $218,516.38. Motion, please.
I'm gonna make a motion to, pay the bills for the month. A total of $218,516.38.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, Jim,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Joey,
Yep.
Deb.
Okay, the next one is a motion to approve the purchase of security cameras for the beach and dam area from Barclays Safe and Lock in the amount of $8,903.12. If you can see this, and you all have one in your package. Jason, Joey, and I sat with Barclays going over the camera placement and whatnot at the beach and dam. And so each of those circles is a camera, and they have a 180-degree view. And they're very, very high-tech, very good at, he showed us like examples on his
clarity.
phone. And the
Clarity's amazing.
So this pretty much covers all the areas on the beach, as well as that one camera is going to shoot down and cover the spillway and the gatehouse. And the distance and the clarity on it was amazing. So those will be getting, can be installed very quickly. So,
Deb, is it internet-based? Did you end up going with that?
no, it's a hard drive,
Okay.
and basically we can just download it onto a thumb drive and look at it. The difficulty there was to get an internet-based one. We would have had to run internet to the lifeguard shack, and so it would have either meant overhead wires or digging them, and it just wasn't feasible.
Are you guys?
The cost would have been more.
But
Yeah.
It's a DVR,
It's gonna be locked up in the lifeguard
yeah,
shop.
because that's what
It'll
they'll do,
be-
is they'll go in and steal a DVR.
no, it'll
That's
be
happened.
in a
Double lock.
double cabinet.
Double lock
We're gonna
cabinet.
put a cabinet down there, and then we're gonna put another cabinet in there, so I'll be locked, and then the other will be locked.
Because it has happened, they steal DVRs.
Mhm.
I'm fine.
It's sad that it's come to this point, but
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah, we went,
The damage happened to the.
It's been to that point for years,
Yeah.
it's just hitting closer.
Well, you know, we
We
just,
put a lot of money in the dam too, so we want to keep an eye on front of the dam.
And we have somebody who keeps going to the spillway, not the spillway, to the gates, where the gates are, that comes out. They keep laying logs and rocks across there. Denis came this morning and said, they're rolling rocks down the hills and pushing it all in front of where the water comes out
The
of the
discharge,
gates.
discharge
It's
of the
like,
gates.
what's the purpose? So,
There's a lot of money to fix those gates and
Yeah.
maintain that stuff, so.
So anyway, we're going to take the step. Unfortunately, we have to, but we have, between the dam and, the beach, we need to protect the stuff there. As we know, we just had that vandalism, which cost the town, well, it was over $9,000 to do the repairs. And, we eat the first 5,000 of it as our deductible, so.
And this is not our first event either for vandals hitting our property, town property, so it's time. It's sad that we come to this point in time with our community, but it's I think overall for me, I like it not only the fact that it protects the property, but it also gives us an opportunity if something goes on illegally within our property with other people, we'll see it. So.
Is there any discount for our insurance? Like, piping that in?
I'll check.
That's a good point, Jim. We can check it out.
I had a question. Is the town also gonna put up signs that say like security recording as a deterrent, not just the cameras themselves, but also warn people, hey, you're being recorded, so
Yeah, so
hopefully
there's something.
don't do something, and rather than do it anyway and get caught on camera, but to try to
Yeah,
prevent it from happening in the first place?
yeah, the security
There's gonna be
company
one
will
sign.
put up.
Okay.
Actually, it comes with the package
Yeah.
that we talked about with the rep.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Sad that it's necessary, but
Yeah,
it's needed.
That being said, I'll make the motion to approve purchase of security cameras for the beach camera area from Barclays Safe and Lock, amount of $8,903.12.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Roll call, Jim,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Joey,
Yes.
Deb.
yes. Okay. Old business. Water District number 2 update. The pre-engineering grant has been applied for. That's the district that's on the east side of the village. Still looking for that solution. So as you may or may not know, these things take time. So we'll get there. But it's still moving. Veterans Park update. We're still organizing the moving parts so that we can get everything done at the same time to minimize the time that the silt fence is up and that part of the lake is blocked. So also still moving. FEMA update on the repair on the gates, the seals on the gates. I talked to Seaway Diving yesterday, and they're looking at in August to get the repair done. And on the other part, the mitigation repair on the rest of the dam, the concrete work and whatnot, I should have a quote from Schnabel by, he said hopefully by the end of this week, if not, then Monday. He'd have the quote to me on that one. And FEMA will pay up to the same amount that we're paying toward the gate, toward the mitigation. So still dealing with FEMA. I'll be really glad when they're in the rearview mirror, because that's been a long one. Sand hauling. So far, as of the end of July, because they're not hauling this week or next because it's the construction holiday in Canada. So that's what we need is, you know what, good holiday, just throw it in there. 18,140.96 tons have been taken so far, which is about on par with last year. Playground grant funds, we finally got some of the money back, 90% of it. For the playground on the beach, we've got $84,375 reimbursed, and we just have a couple more things to do to get the remaining 10%. We just got the sign made that posts the year-round hours, so once we get that up, and the volleyball posts will be done, and we can submit for the remaining of it and close that out. Security locks and cameras for the building here. Excuse me. As we know, the camera system on this building is really bad. So we also went over those with Barclays, and I'm thinking that the cameras are the most important thing to do. I mean, we have door locks and we need improving, but the camera part of it is like $11,500. So you guys that weren't at that meeting, that's something for you to go over there and look at. We won't make that decision tonight. We'll give you a chance to look at it. And for the doors, it was another 16,000. So
Door locks.
yeah, for like fobs on the doors instead of codes.
Codes.
Because the codes seem to get out there. We have a lot of codes floating around out in the public.
You can dump all them, the old cones on them.
And we can dump them all, but then they'll just get given out again. So now they got a key fob that identifies whose key fob it is.
And it's right in the computer system, and you can tell who's been coming and going and all that stuff. They make the doors unlock for certain times of the day if you wanted to, and they lock at a certain time.
So,
Pretty nice system.
but the cameras are the most important ones, and it was a good setup for the cameras. There's one of the really high good viz cameras that is going to be pointed down the road, down the driveway, to catch license plates and whatnot.
So they're not hardwired, same as a beach?
These will be internet,
Yeah,
right? These will be.
The beach are those hardwired?
no, they all communicate with the,
Yeah, if you look at that little map of where the cameras are, there's a unit on the bathhouse that'll talk to the unit,
Okay.
the hardware
they all
unit.
communicate with that hard drive.
So, take a look at that, and the next month we'll look at the other one. The Brookfield contract has been filed with the county, so we're good to go on that. Just to let people know, if you're not aware of it, that Brookfield is interested in setting up a battery storage area in that area next to the NYSEG substation, right before you get into Lime Mountain. On the right there, we own 7.2 acres, and Brookfield is interested in looking at that as a possible battery storage area to store electricity coming off the grid. So the first probably 2 years, they're just going to be looking at it, seeing if it's suitable, seeing if the grid can handle what they want to hook up to it, that kind of thing. But they will pay us $7,200 a year just to look at it. And then if they decide to go with it, and if we agree to have them go with it, then they will pay, this is $1,000 per acre. They'll pay us $4,000 per acre annually, and with a 2% increase each year. So, does anybody else have any old business?
I do. Then this is a follow-up from what we had at last month's meeting from Alan Weldon. He asked the question, is they gonna be hooked up on the secondary or primary side? I talked to the rep, and they said pretty much it should be on the secondary side, but they will do an overall overview of the substation to make sure it's able to be hooked up on the secondary side. So there's an assessment coming.
Mhm.
And the other question he had is that, what type of a fire deterrent system are they gonna have? And it is foam. And one thing I did not know when they communicated to us on that issue, that, and it's automatic foam, once it triggers a certain heat, the foam hits it. I did not know the vents were powered, and they said that once the alarm is hit and they see it, and from their end, they'll be able to shut down the vents to minimize the amount of oxygen flow that goes inside, so it should minimize the extent of that fire getting out of control. So that's something that we did not,
I think you said that here.
that'd be power vents?
It was,
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
he said it was oxygen controlled
Yeah.
from substation,
Okay.
from station.
The
So-
foam-
I was here then, I remember that, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So overall, and I talked to her pretty much an extent, and they're actually quite excited to get this project off the ground. So I think it's a good project for the community, and it gives us funds that basically, we got property sitting there not doing nothing for us.
Yep,
So,
it's being torn up by another good thing is they're gonna put a fence around it with cameras. So all that four-wheeler traffic that's tearing up the tar plant area. So, anyway, thank you, Joey. New business. So, if anyone wants to make a motion to approve the short-term rental law, we can do that now.
I'll make that motion to go ahead and approve the short-term rental law as it was submitted.
With the correction
With the
of,
correction of
removing-
removing the bed and breakfast
Yep.
terminology.
Does attorney need to see that, or?
he's seen it,
Okay.
I'll second.
yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the Shazy Lake Watershed Initiative, here's a little map. They, have you done that yet, Mark, or are you in the process?
In the process.
Okay, the Shazy Lake Watershed Initiative has generously provided to put some signage up at the boat ramp because it's kind of confusing for some people and they're parking in the way and whatnot. So this is the plan that they are doing, putting some various signs to make sure people, where the parking goes, where not to park, where to load, unload, that kind of thing. So I think it'll help with some of the traffic jams and some of the frustration of people trying to get to the launch where the people are parked their vehicles in the way, that kind of thing. So,
And then from the board, we want to thank the Shays Lake Initiative for what they did, taking this on. I mean, we like the community involvement like this, and when you get a number of minds all pulling together, stuff like this happens for our community. So thank you so much.
thank you.
So happy to do it. And by the way, that's being paid for by a grant from the Lake Champlain Basin Program.
Wonderful.
Okay. Anybody have any other new business before we go into committee reports? Take my glasses back off so I can see. All right. So, let's see. And another thing the Shazy Lake Watershed Initiative folks are doing that we appreciate is working or going to DEC and asking about improvements on the boat launch itself, especially the concrete launch, that piece there. I see the emails that Judy went to James Panero. Panero, is that his name?
Close enough.
Yeah, that's close enough. And so I look forward to, meeting up with them whenever they can come and discussing with that, because that seems to be basically one of the biggest problems is the fact that there's that drop off at the end of the concrete. And also, the additional length of dock. And, you know, if we can get with them and if money is the problem, you know, the town can try to budget in some money to help pay for that. And I know, I'm well aware that our 30-year agreement with them comes up for renewal in 2025, so I'll reach out to them, and I know you made the comment, Mark, on this, that we hope we don't have to wait till then to see any action, so I'm gonna reach out to him like next week
Okay.
and say, hey, you know, the town is behind getting this done, and if you wanna renew the agreement a year ahead of time, you know, let's get into it so that we can do that.
We really ought to have them come down and try to get their boat back onto their trailer when the wind is blowing. The difficult task.
He did say that if anyone, that we all should know that if anyone has damage to their trailer or maybe their boat from trying to come in or out, that we should contact him. He was very clear about that at the end.
For reimbursement.
Well, he didn't say that, but
Well, yeah.
it might generate some action.
Mhm. Well, thanks again. Thank you, Judy, Mark, for also taking that on. What else do I have? So the comprehensive plan, I have 2 volunteers. Larry Pettis volunteered to be on it, and Matt Furman volunteered as well. And just to put a exclamation point on why it's necessary, I got a letter from this company that's dealing with windmills, and let's see, WSP is collecting information on existing and proposed land use in support of a major renewable energy facility permit application with the Altona Wind Park. And the proposed facility will be located in town of Altona. While it's not proposed to be in Dannemora, I'm reaching out to you because it's located within the 5-mile study area. So, and they want a copy of our existing and proposed zoning districts, zoning regulations, and so forth. So,
ADA's approved for everything, any of those wind towers in the park.
yeah, so, well, see, Altona's not in the park, so they can put them there, but, you know, if we had zoning saying, or not zoning, but even a land use, the comprehensive plan is our land use where, you know, this is an area where we don't want this as this close or whatever.